So we're continually checking, has my three-dimensional environment changed? Where is he? Where is the money? Where is the opportunity? Where are the clients? Where is this new life? Who is asking those questions? We can't be in the self-doubt and in our soul power at the same time. We can't be in the questioning and the wondering and the looking outside, where is it? And tapped into our soul essence at the same time. Doubt's still going to come up. The fears, the resistance, it's still going to come up because we're having a human experience. The difference is we're not making meaning out of it. We're not letting that part of us lead. We're seeing it. We're observing it as the soul. That's interesting. I'm noticing I'm being triggered. That's interesting. I've got really big fears and resistance coming up, but we are not letting that part of us, the conditioned identity, the conditioned self, call the shots. Hey, beautiful soul, welcome back to the Abundance Club podcast. It actually feels like it's been a minute since I've just been on here and recorded a transmission specifically for the podcast, for you guys, one that ideally meets you with where you're at and what you're moving through at the moment, and to support you on this crazy, magnificent, wild journey of awakening and conscious transformation that we have put our hand up as souls and signed up to be here at this time. So my intention is always with these podcast episodes to bring you, to guide you back home to where your true power lies, which is never out there. It's not in what I'm sharing. It's not in somebody else's idea or strategy for you, but it's here. It's within you. It is deep within you. And my intention is that this podcast reminds you and activates something within you so that you can move forward as this true, creative, powerful being that you are. When you remember who you are, you tap back into your creative power. And the world needs that. Like the world needs that, because when you transform within, your outer world transforms. When your outer world transforms, we shift on a collective scale, on a global scale. So I just want to really applaud you if you are here listening to this podcast, if you are here doing the inner work. And when I say work, I think it's really important that we get out of this idea that things need to be hard. And so I don't even really like using the word work, because this gets to be enjoyable. In fact, I feel like this inner process is so enjoyable and expansive. Like, yes, it doesn't mean when you are on this path of conscious transformation and conscious awakening that life is all of a sudden sunshine and rainbows. In fact, a lot of my clients find, and a lot of the people in my programs find, that is when you're on this journey of expansion, when you open your eyes and you wake up and you go, okay, I'm willing to see here how I am co-signing the life that I'm living, how I am co-creating this life. All of a sudden, you start to become aware of the way that you've been limiting yourself. That's not from a place of judgment. It's from a place of opportunity to go, wow, I actually get to choose again. I actually, like, if my identity has essentially been something for most of us, it's really rooted in our conditioning. So for most of us, it has been created and learned and then repeated over and over, which is why we often find ourselves circling around the same patterns, the same kinds of relationships, the same people, the same kinds of income levels and job opportunities. So if it has been learned and repeated and reinforced, then guess what? We get to rewrite it. We get to create it again. And this is really where my work comes in to play, and the work that I'm doing with the clients and those that are in my soul power community and group, because it is about you remembering that actually you have sovereign free will, you have sovereign creative power simply by you remembering who you are, you remembering that You're not actually your conditioning. Yeah, you've been rehearsing that for a long time, over years and years, and you've evolved with that. And you get to actually choose again what actually feels good for me, what feels aligned for me. I've been rehearsing, I've been playing the role of this same character for years and years. And perhaps it's one that you haven't even chosen, right? Like we see this all the time. We see this on TV, we see this in TV shows, we see this in movies, we see actors playing a particular role. It's just that in life, IRL, in real life, in our reality, or it's seemingly real, often we don't pick that. Often it gets chosen for us because that's what is expected of us, because that's what our parents wanted, because that's what's come down the family line, because that's what society expects of me, because that's what you do, right? Like, how often do we stop and go, actually, you know what? This role, this character that I'm playing, it's actually not where I want to be anymore because it is creating a certain reality. It's aligning with a certain potential that maybe you've outgrown. And when we've outgrown it, what we start to meet is that feeling, is that perhaps it comes up as a bit of discomfort. Perhaps it comes up as just this knowing that, hey, there's actually something more for me. What is that? That is the next level life, or you could say an evolved or future version of you that's nudging you, that's calling you towards something new, an expanded version of you, an expanded potential. So, how does it get our attention? Often, if we're not really paying attention, if we're not noticing the feelings, if we're not acting on the nudges and listening to our intuition, sometimes it needs to make you feel uncomfortable. Sometimes it needs to close some certain doors in order to redirect you towards where your soul is actually choosing to be. It just can sometimes take our human self a little while to catch up. Now, what I find really interesting is in the work that I do with my clients, I'll have many that will come into this work and they will say something like, I have this dream. I actually know what it is that I want. I know that, or at least, the very least, I know that there is something more here for me, a bigger way that I'm called to have an impact, or a new relationship that I'm wanting to call in, or a higher level of income that I'm wanting to bring in, or maybe it's just a new way of operating in the world. Many people are clear on that. And then what we meet is the questioning. But I don't know what I'm missing. And why isn't it here yet? And I feel like I'm doing all of the work, but it's not happening. And the question then that I will ask these clients is, who is asking that question? Because when we're in the question, we are not in our soul truth. Now, this work is about bringing you back into recognition that you are a divine, limitless soul, that you are source, that you are God consciousness, because we're not separate from any of it. We are not separate from the creative consciousness, from divine mind that has created everything that's existing in this world. So we are creative consciousness. So when you remember that, and when you're tapped into that, tapped into divine mind, you're not in the questioning. You're not wondering where it is. You're not looking at your external circumstances, asking, why hasn't it happened? What am I missing? Where am I limited? Maybe I've done something wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with me. Those questions don't come from soul. And so the work that I do with clients is to bring you into a soul-led identity so that who you are choosing to be, who you're showing up with, is informed by your soul rather than your conditioning. Now, there's no problem in having the conditioning because we all have that. The problem comes into play when we believe that our conditioning is who we are, when we let our conditioning be the one that calls the shots and that's leading the play in this game of life. And for most people, we are unconsciously allowing that to happen. I see it all the time when women come into my world because they are in the question, because they are in the self-doubt. We can't be in the self-doubt and in our soul power at the same time. We can't be in the questioning and the wondering and the looking outside, where is it? And tapped into our soul essence at the same time. I was explaining this to the group of women that are in my soul power yesterday when we had a call. And I use this analogy of, like, imagine it's like the sun. The sun is fully expressed. The sun is whole. So the sun represents the truth of who you are, your soul, your essence, your limitless potential. That is whole. That is complete. There is nothing missing. So of course the sun's not asking itself, am I enough? Have I done something wrong? Have I messed up? I feel like I need to be somewhere else. The sun is just allowing itself to be fully expressed. It knows who it is. What happens is, though, we have the clouds, so we have the conditioning, we have the cloaks and the lenses that our soul expresses itself through. And when we choose to identify with the clouds, we're identifying with the limitation. We're identifying with the roles that we're playing, with the character that we're playing, the one that doesn't serve us anymore. We're thinking that's who we are. We're identifying with these thoughts that we're having that are like, what's happening? Where is it? Why isn't it working? Rather than noticing it, seeing it. Oh, that's interesting, but that's not me. That's not the truth of who I am. When the sun filters through the clouds, yeah, we can feel the sun, but it's not the full, truest expression of the sun because it's coming through that cloaking, that concealment. And I believe that when we identify with that limitation, with that concealment, we're not bringing through our fullest, truest, authentic self. We're not allowing that to be fully expressed. However, when we remember that we're the sun, that we are source, we can see the clouds because that's still going to come up, right? The doubt's still going to come up. The fears, the resistance, it's still going to come up because we're having a human experience. The difference is we're not making meaning out of it. We're not letting that part of us lead. We're seeing it. We're observing it as the soul. That's interesting. I'm noticing I'm being triggered. That's interesting. I've got really big fears and resistance coming up, but we are not letting that part of us, the conditioned identity, the conditioned self, call the shots. So the conditioned self calling the shots would mean, like, I'm not going to start the business. I'm not going to start the podcast. I'm not going to put myself out there in this way. I'm just using an example because I don't feel ready, because people will judge me, because it's uncomfortable to be visible, because what are people going to think, right? That's when we let that part of us lead versus I'm noticing that there's resistance here. I'm noticing that I've got some fears around this. However, I'm going to choose to remember my power. I'm going to choose to remember that this isn't about me and there's something bigger that wants to come through me, and I'm going to allow that to lead. Do you see the difference? It can still be there, but we're not making meaning out of it, which means we're not charging it with our power. We're taking our power back in remembering, just in that remembrance of who you are as a soul. Nothing missing, fully complete. Of course, you're exactly where you are. When we do that, my friends, we discharge the resistance. We allow ourselves to feel the desire, because guess what? Your soul has desires. It's how it allows itself to be expressed through our humanness. It's got things to share, things to say, messages to spread, love to share. So it wants to be fully expressed in our human form. That's why we're here. So when we allow ourselves to do that, to be that desire, we realize we're not separate from our desire. We allow ourselves to be that. We show up anyway because we have a deeper trust and faith in who we are rather than who we've been conditioned to believe we are, who we think we are. And often we think we're our thoughts. We think we're our limitation. We think we're the things that are holding us back. We think we're the doubt and resistance rather than noticing it, not attaching to it, letting the clouds pass on because they always will. And they will pass on a lot quicker when you don't identify with it, when you don't make meaning out of it. But unfortunately, we are such meaning-making machines. And when we make meaning out of it, we amplify the resistance. What is it that keeps that desire away at arm's length? It's the belief that we don't have it. It's the resistance. And the resistance looks like, why isn't it here yet? I'm not good enough. Or being deeply attached to the outcome. So we're continually checking, has my three-dimensional environment changed? Where is he? Where is the money? Where is the opportunity? Where are the clients? Where is this new life? Who is asking those questions? I was sharing with the women in my group yesterday, one of the most quoted passages from the Bible, be still and know that I am God. Be still. It means pause. Don't get tied up and hooked into the story. Be still and know that I am God, and remember who you are and remember your power. When we remember our power, when we remember that we are source, when we remember that we are that creative being, that we are limitless potential, things shift really quickly because we're not co-signing the limitation anymore. We are deepening the seed of our soul. This is why practices like, any of these conscious practices like meditation, like one thing I've been doing recently is just putting on some like God frequency, which is like 900, I think it's 965 hertz frequency, or theta brainwave frequency, and just allowing that to pass through in my meditation to bring me into that deeper state of remembering. And when we do this, my friends, and this is why those practices, meditation, going for a walk out in nature, like bring you back into the most powerful state, which is presence. And when we come into presence, we allow there to be space in between the thoughts that are trying to pull us either back into what's been, into the past, looking over situations and conversations and rehashing, or out into the future, wondering, without realizing that from the present moment is where we are creating our future. And when we allow who we are being, who we're choosing to be, ideally, the identity that is informed from your soul, not from the limitation, not from your ego, not from the conditioning. When we do that and we let go of the resistance, which means we're not continually seeking and searching and wondering where it is, because that's from the conditioned self. But when we do that and we let ourselves instead rest in the present moment and feel the frequency of your true identity, what is that? What are the feelings you would be feeling living in that life that you desire, living as the version of you who is living out your desired reality? How is she feeling? She's present, joyful, peaceful, like whatever you can imagine or tap into, whatever feelings, you can access that now. And the more that we can be in that being state without looking back or looking forward or continually looking around, forcing a reality that we don't necessarily desire, we amplify the field, we send out that clear, coherent frequency that then allows us to magnetize in that which is resonant with that which is on the same vibration. This is why we say there's multiple versions of reality. There's multiple timelines that exist. What we're essentially meaning is there's multiple expressions of you as a soul. And how that's determined, the reality that's determined is what you are choosing. So you get to choose, am I going to keep being in the questioning? Like, does that actually feel good? Does that serve me? Or am I going to choose to come back into the remembering and remind myself, even if that's every day, I know that I'm powerful. I know I have sovereign choice, and this is who I choose to be. The one who is in gratitude, the one who is in joy, the one who's enjoying life right now rather than waiting for something to come that's going to give me that feeling that I desire. Because behind every desire, it's never the thing that we want. It's not the three-dimensional thing that we want. It's the feeling anchor beneath it. It's what's behind it and beneath it. It's not the money we want, it's the freedom that we believe that gives us. Right? It's not the actual relationship. It's like what it feels like to be loved, what it feels like to be appreciated, what it feels like to be taken care of, what it feels like. So, all the things that we're looking for outside of ourselves are giving us this invitation to embrace that that's already here within you because you are source, you are whole, you are the whole sun. And the more that you can be in the energy of that right now, be the version of you that knows she's whole, be the version of you that knows she's loved, adored, complete, joyful, safe, secure. That allows you to tap into your true, potent magnetism. And we might bounce back a little. And so the work I do with clients is like, how do we reduce that bouncing back? Because when we're bouncing back, we're kind of like a little bit in the static. But we want to tune that dial to a clear signal so that there is no mistake that this is who I am and this is what I'm available for. I shared recently how, and I'm super, super, super grateful for this, but how really recently I had this sudden spike in my podcast listens. Like it wasn't a double or a triple or a quadruple. It was like a 10 times. It's like a 10x of the downloads and the reach, which I'm super, super grateful to my incredible, beautiful, loyal audience because I know that it's your engagement with this podcast and your sharing and your reviews and all of that that makes a difference. But what was really interesting is prior to this, and not long before this, it was a few days, I made a really clear and conscious decision from that soul aspect of me. And that decision, it felt so powerful. And I've spoken about this before. I think I even shared it in the last podcast episode about the power of the decision and just the energy of decision and what that feels like. This almost felt like a command. Right? This almost felt like a command through my whole body and energy. And that was to expand in my impact and in my visibility greater than I had before. And when you make a decision like this, you bring all of you on board. You make it as source, as the sun, not as the version of you that's wondering, but as the version of you that's already there. And I did this. I don't want to say did, it was an embodiment. It was a full embodiment, my brain. And I'm doing this work with my clients and having such powerful results with this. And a few days later was when I experienced the spike. There was nothing that I did. There was no new strategy that I implemented because I think that strategy without energy is really useless because we are trying to create from our matter alone rather than from our frequency. But that decision at the time when I made it, I think I was walking on the beach because I was actually on holidays when this kind of spike happened. So there was no new podcast episode that I had posted that went viral or a reel or something that I did. It was who I chose to be and embody. And that was the result. The field responded to that. There was so much potency in that choice that I made. And I'm saying this because I want to remind you that you guys, each of you, have that opportunity, have that free will, have that choice. And nothing, this was the other thing that I really was really clear about, that nothing actually needed to change in my world in order for that to be so, for that to be a reality. Because I think so much of the time we are waiting, we're believing that something else has to change. Like once I understand this better, or once I lose the weight, or once I improve this, right? So a part of us, we've got the desire, but there's a part of us that's in the waiting, that doesn't quite believe that it can happen like that. And so I reconciled that, brought in that part of me, which is often the protective part of us. I made a choice that nothing else needed to change. And this is the work that I'm now doing with my clients, and it's phenomenal because you command the field. You command the field. You are not the one who's playing the role. You are the one who's writing the script. The problem is we keep identifying with the one who's playing the role, trying to fix and heal and improve the one who is playing the role, forgetting. And that's taking up a lot of our energy, because we'll read just another book, or we'll go to another healing session, or we'll go to this other healer. I can see this so much in the personal development space. Or we'll do this hack, or another ice bath, or another cacao ceremony, or another. And this isn't to diss any of that. Like, all of that holds a place. But we keep trying to fix an identity, a version of us that actually doesn't want to shift, because it's used to being in that. Right? So we're trying to fix a character and when we're forgetting that we are the one that's conducting the whole show, that we are the one that's writing the script, that we are the one that's choosing. So why don't you then choose a new character? Now, this isn't about create a whole different identity and persona, because that's keeping us further away from ourselves. But this is like, what happens now if I actually choose to be who I truly am, fully expressed, the most aligned with my soul, the sun without the clouds? So we shift from trying to fix something, and instead we allow ourselves to finally become our truest and most authentic version of ourselves. And that's the version of you that no longer believes she's her conditioning, that no longer believes that she is that role. She understands she's source. That's the shift that we're working with. They're the women that I'm working with, and men. I'm working with men as well. I'm just used to saying women, but I'm working with men as well. But they are the people, the humans like you, and you're listening to this podcast, so you're on that journey as well, that are ready to go, you know what? I'm remembering I'm limitless. I'm remembering. So now I want to start to live at that. That's the work we're doing. Now I want to start to choose as that, to rewrite the script, to show up in a new way, to be in my truth and my essence, and to untether from that old identity, that's been keeping me in the limitation. Such beautiful, exciting, empowering work. Because when you actually really get this and you choose to embody that, you move through life in a different way. When you remember, you can no longer forget. You're going to have this illusion of forgetting, this illusion of separation, but you can very quickly choose. Hang on a minute. Who am I being? Hang on a minute. If I'm in the questioning, I'm in that version of myself, then I can't be fully tapped into my soul essence at the same time. And there is so much power in that. And your situation, as I had discovered, changed rapidly. So if you are resonating with this, there's a couple of things. First of all, come into a one-to-one session with me. I'll pop the link in the show notes. These are a soul power mentoring session, one-to-one, because shifts can happen very quickly. And I can support you to no longer continue to charge and fuel a version of reality that you are ready to evolve from, because you're being called into something more. and we decipher what that is and align you with your true identity. My gosh, it's such beautiful, powerful work. I get really emotional because I'm witnessing people go through such huge shifts, and it gets to be so much easier than what we've previously signed up for, because we've believed on some level that it needs to be hard, that we need to clear all these limiting beliefs, that we need to remove all these blocks, that we need to get this nervous system 100% perfect, and all of that is just things that we've chosen to believe in. And you can ask the question, like, is that true? Is that what your soul believes is true? Or can you allow yourself now to access and live as your most truest, authentic self, knowing that it's already done? And then the second thing is my soul power journey, which I'm right in the middle of now, which is so incredible. I have actually opened the doors for a second intake for this year, which is going to be in mid-October. And right now you can get it at the most reduced price, which is going to consistently go up, particularly as we get closer to the launch. But if you want to lock that in and you are ready to have that final 3 months of the year, fully allowing yourself to do this work in a really safe, supportive, spiritual community, and you're ready to tap in and live as your soul power, then that is available to you as well. Now, the other thing is, if you are enjoying this podcast, I would so love it if you could share this episode, if you could give us a rate or a review. If you haven't already, guys, it means so much to me if you could do that. It really, really supports the growth of this transmission. And I want to give you a gift as well. So if you are enjoying this, please reach out to me, because this is something that I have been working on, that is a soul power frequency activation. So to bring you back into attunement with the truth of who you are. If you send me an email, connect@amywilkinson.io, or you can go via my web form, or you can send me a message on Instagram, I am going to send this through to you. I haven't even launched this out to the public. It's not available yet, but I'm going to send it to you if you send me an email and just let me know how you're finding this episode or this podcast, if it is speaking to you, if it is meeting you where you're at, if it's supporting you on your journey. I would love to hear from you. Okay, beautiful souls, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys. And hey, keep being you. This is the highest calling of this time. And I wonder if you're noticing that, because the things that are no longer you, they're going to be shown to you. Life is showing you them right now. The people, the relationships, the circumstances, the limitation that you've been buying into. We have to see it to be able to let it go. We have to see it to choose again. So don't get hooked into the story. Don't make meaning about it. Let the clouds pass and remember who you are. Take care.